Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to talk about just the use of customization tools to help boost text analysis accuracy. And I'll give you an example through our product, MeaningCloud. Just to introduce myself, my name is Jared McGuinness. I'm based here in London, helping with business development for the UK. Just a bit of admin. Feel free to kind of send text questions through the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, there's the hand icon there, and we can unmute your mic, and we'll do it there. We'll have time at the end, definitely to answer any questions you have, and I have a couple of my colleagues on the call as well to be able to answer any of the tricky questions I might not be able to handle. And then later we'll send a link to give you the recorded webinar, so if there's something you want to kind of come back to, you'll be able to do that. So today we're going to just broadly talk about the kind of the main issues in kind of text analytics, and in particular the difference between precision and recall. We'll look at just how kind of you can utilize customized linguistic resources to improve that accuracy, and I'll give you some examples through the MeaningCloud user interface. We'll finish up with some conclusions, and then we'll take your questions. So when I'm talking about text analytics, I'm talking about a very specific kind, and that's utilizing semantic analysis. And this is the idea that the words that we use have meaning and context that is completely obscured to a machine that just sees the world in zeros and ones. And it's really about utilizing kind of algorithmic approaches to get to the bits of information humans are interested in, right? The thing that not just the words, but what the words are about, right? And this is what we're talking about. Humans are concerned about people and organizations, the relationships between peoples and organizations, and then more kind of abstract things such as themes and concepts, right? And in addition to that, we want to utilize this technology to extract facts, but also opinions, right? Because in particular, we want to know what our customers are saying about us and our products and our competition. And text analytics is a tool that we use to do this. So I know some of you are very familiar with text analytics, but I want to kind of clarify one important issue, and this terms of kind of precision, and versus kind of using a text analysis engine such as MeaningCloud, but also kind of versus kind of manual approaches, right? So a good thing to remember is that humans are not perfect. So when kind of human experts are doing kind of text analysis, for example, like entity extraction, you can kind of expect somewhere between 85 and 90% accuracy. The issue with humans versus kind of a programmatic approach is that humans are inconsistent in their errors, right? So humans make reasonable mistakes to other humans, whereas machines will make just complete howlers. But the thing is humans are inconsistent. Computers will make the same mistake over and over again, and you can kind of address that and kind of refine that. And it's scalable, and kind of the amount of information a computer can process is orders of magnitude greater than a human expert. Machines are cheaper, and it's about kind of creating a virtuous cycle and kind of utilizing, getting those human experts to really kind of focus on the high quality and the difficult things where the machines can't perform. To make an important distinction between precision and recall, right? So precision is about finding what if you're extracting a particular concept or theme or classification, you're getting it right? That's high precision. It might be to do so, you're going to disregard you're going to have some false false negatives. You're going to disregard some information because the engine is lacking confidence, right? And this is a situation where you have high precision, low recall, right? Of course, the goal is always to kind of get everything right all the time, and this is where you have high precision and high recall, but it's a trade-off. There are certain situations in where you're willing to sacrifice precision, and you're going to deal with some false positives in the order that you absolutely don't miss you want to get a high recall. You want to be able to find everything that's possible, and you're willing to deal with the false positives. The false positives. And it's always a trade-off. So as you kind of refined your approach to address precision, inevitably this comes at a cost of recall, right? And it's always a fine balance of what your business case is willing to trade with, in terms of kind of. And you can see, so one example is brand monitoring in social media. There's an example of where high precision and low recall is absolutely acceptable because you recognize that people are going to be talking about your products. You want to make sure they're absolutely talking about your products. So think about Apple. You want people talking about your app, the Apple, the company, not the record company or the fruit, right? So the fact is, by requiring that kind of certainty, you're willing to sacrifice recall. So you're going to miss some people talking about you, but that's fine because most likely they're talking about the exact same thing. So kind of brand monitoring social media, that's an example of a place where high precision trumps recall. Counterterrorism is an example of where actually you want to be able to find all possible instances. You'll deal with those false positives because really you don't want to miss the kind of consequences of missing some bit of information is far greater, right? And you rely on human experts to go through and kind of do and refine that and find the information to get rid of those false positives. So what kind of performance can you kind of expect from text analytical engines? Well, there's huge caveats, and you rarely see these numbers because there are so many caveats. So this is dependent on so many things. So one of it is the type of kind of analysis you're doing, whether it's topic extraction, classification, sentiment analysis. All these have their kind of unique problems, and not one engine will perform better on one aspect to another. It also is absolutely reliant on the kind of the content that you're looking at, the training corpus, and the type of content, whether it's tweets versus huge 80,000 word monographs, right? What you're analyzing will absolutely have an effect on the kind of precision and recall. In addition, it's what you're looking for. So, and the models that you want to kind of you're using. So, in kind of very restricted domains, you're going to expect better quality. If you were only looking for persons, so the extracting of person entities has relatively high results, precision and recall, because there's only so many ways you can call a person, right? So companies are also quite good, but there's slightly more freedom in what companies can be called. So out of the box, these are just kind of rough estimates, right? And that's why it's so vital to kind of enable customization and really allow our users to be able to refine the engine, the MeaningCloud engine, for their specific content and the business case and what they want to get out of it, to get those performance measurements up to human-like numbers. So I'll go through a couple examples and I'll show you utilizing the kind of MeaningCloud product. Feel free to come and visit the website, have a look, dig around, register. You can use it for free at absolutely no kind of obligation. And again, there's kind of you can if you live in the world of Excel spreadsheets, we have a kind of interface for you. If you're a pure developer or somewhere in between, we can take care of you there. So feel free to visit, have a look, tell us what you think. So just kind of give you an example of the types of things that you can utilize through the API and the user interfaces is the various types of concept extraction. So whether that be entities, concepts, dates, address, economic qualities, time expressions, etc. You're analyzing text for classifications. It comes preloaded with a number of standard and well-recognized models, but we also enable you to kind of add your own classification models, as well as sentiment analysis, right? So we have pretty much everything for anybody here, and you can utilize. You can have a play. There's some demo interfaces for you to kind of just drop text in, but there's also some freely available API keys, and again the link is down below. So this is just a slide to show you the kind of just out of the box, the coverage is quite good. So we have 437 nodes, kind of things that we kind of identify against, a number of themes, and I would just kind of emphasize the kind of multilinguality, right? So firstly, just kind of dealing with lemonization. This is the kind of the inflections of verbs, so the tenses don't matter, or the kind of pluralization of nouns. The engine can deal with that. That's not really an issue. And there's multilingual support. So the strongest support is in English and Spanish, but there's a number of Romantic languages and European languages that we cover to a great extent. We have a number of kind of standard classification models for you to kind of just drop in and use right out of the box. So IPTC is a very well-known international standard for news. It's a great classification standard because news is kind of encyclopedic in its coverage. So you're able to kind of cover a lot of different categories very quickly. For kind of corporate reputation, we utilize business reputation. We also have Eurovac. And currently in beta, we have IAB. If you're interested in kind of what we're doing with IAB, feel free to contact us. We're talking about, but it's coming very soon. But feel free to email us for details. So I'm going to walk us through a practical example of how to kind of customize, how to use customizing tools for language analysis to improve the quality of the analysis and accuracy, improve the accuracy. And I'll drive it through a very common interest for people, and that's a kind of customer insight scenario. This idea that as kind of organizations are very interested in just dealing with huge amounts of content that's coming through, and whether that be from kind of traditional means of kind of interactions in call centers and contact centers, whether that's voice or email, or structured surveys, semi-structured content that's in surveys, or the kind of wild west of social networks, right? What are people saying to each other about our organization, our products, and our brands, and our competitors, and to be able to kind of deal with these multi-channel of information, and kind of separate and understand that context is absolutely vital. The way people speak in kind of call center interactions versus Twitter is very different, and to be able to kind of create the tools to enable people to do that, right? And largely, what companies are interested in is what's being talked about, who are they talking about, who's doing the talking, to whom, what brands are mentioning, what products are being talked about, and what are they saying, right? What are they saying about these various things, and how do we kind of understand that as organizations, right? Like, is this a positive or negative response? And the whole point of this is to be able to kind of in real time address opportunities and threats to our organizations, right? If there's a huge blow up of Twitter and kind of very negative results for negative sentiments about a new product that your organization has put out, you want to be able to find that and really kind of create kind of actionable insights, and that's the vital thing. This is the whole point of utilizing this technology, is to be able to handle the kind of volumes, right? We no longer can rely on that kind of one-to-one personal relationship. It's really about the kind of the multi or omni-channel approach. And we're creating the tools to enable you to do that and be able to kind of offer this type of technology to your customers. And that's why we see it's quite a unique offering to kind of be able to kind of customize and to be able to kind of really address your specific domain, your organization, but also kind of your specific business case, what you want to address. And it's about identifying, again, as I say, is what people are mentioning. And I use kind of the bank customers example here, right? What are they talking about? They're talking about the names of banks and financial companies and specific products, right? This creates a kind of context of which they're talking about to understand how we need to address that. And again, it's also vital to understand that in the context of our organization. So in banks have a number of kind of product offerings, and it's important to understand this particular Compass account, whether this is a Compass account is a mortgage product or a savings product or whatever, because that's going to be important about that actionable insights and understand what we need to address given that. And the context, right? How did we get this information? That channel is important. If we can kind of meld these together, we can start to get a very kind of holistic picture of what's going on. So it seems that when people come into the office, they're very happy about the Compass account, the Compass checking account. But on the internet, they're fussing, right? They're not happy, and so to be able to understand that is absolutely vital, and to be able to do that in an automatic, kind of cost-effective way, is where we come in and be able to kind of customize that stuff. And human languages are messy, and that's their beauty, and that's also their difficulty, right? These very simple English sentence of the highest interest rate in the industry can mean very, very different things, right? So if we're talking about a savings account, this is great, this is good, and it's feedback that's very vital to a bank, right? But if it's mortgages, that's something that they need to think about, right? They need to identify that this might be a risk to our organization, and whether this is what people are saying and what we can address and what we can do about it. So I'm going to give you just a few examples of just how just easy it is to do this kind of customization, really very quickly, kind of bootstrap your organization to provide very powerful text analytical tools, right? And be able to kind of add this to your products and offer this to your customers. So I'll just show kind of an example in terms of kind of creating a dictionary and kind of populating the dictionary, classification models. I'm going to give you something that we're just currently working on. We have a bit of it done now, but we'll give you a preview of what's to come very shortly. The kind of powerful tools that we're developing. And this is again from the website. So even after this kind of conversation, feel free to have a look at the website, check out. There's more information. You can play with it. There's API keys. There's demo interfaces for you to drop text in, and there's plenty of documentation to kind of really see what we're doing. So customized dictionaries. Really push button simplicity. It's very easy to do. You just click the button, create the dictionary, give it a bit of description, tell it what language. It's even possible to import. If you have existing dictionaries you want to utilize through the MeaningCloud analytical engine, you can upload these, right? So if you have a spreadsheet, just export it as a TSV file, and you'll be able to do that. Here's what it looks like to create an entity. Again, very, very simple. So this person here is interested in an entity. So you see entry type here. This can be entity, it can be concepts. And you have a name. So this specific product called cash card account for the bank Barclays. It's a type account, namely a current account, which is a type of account, etc. And you can put some aliases. And it's important to recognize that some of the work is already done for you. MeaningCloud is going to be able to identify the trivial aliases. So cash card accounts, cash accounts, the pluralizations in English, the kind of the verb forms. The text analytical engine is going to be able to handle this. It's really just about kind of this. So Bank of America, BOC. That's an example of something you might want to enter to that. If you really want to kind of get into some interesting complexity, we have a raw view here with a kind of syntax to be able to kind of introduce any information, any of your own information as well. And as well as kind of utilize your own ontologies. You can use the existing one that we provide, but also kind of you can create one specifically for your domain and what you're specifically interested in. And as I said before, they kind of be able to do the kind of raw view. And so here's an example of a resulting dictionary that someone's created with various types of entities and concepts. You can start to see the kind of differences between entities and concepts. As well as what kind of type it is according to the ontology. Right? This is just kind of a visual view of the derived ontologies to start to understand the types here, so we can kind of appreciate that you have savings and current accounts, which are more closely related to than organizations or investment type products, right? So you can really start to understand the context. Just to reiterate as well, this ability to kind of, we're not forcing you to kind of do kind of a data entry one by one. If you already have existing dictionaries that you want to import, it's very easy and very simple, the interface to do that. And you can see the examples of be able to kind of add that information. So it's really about kind of bootstrapping very quickly to get to the fun bits, which is, hitting the text analytic APIs and really start to utilize those customized dictionaries that you already have to start to identifying text for the things that are important to you that you have in your existing dictionaries. This is just an example of the kind of test interface for the APIs to kind of just demonstrate what's happening here. So it's about just seeing how, the results of like adding this dictionary to make sure that kind of Barclays has been identified. And here's the result there, right? So you're starting to be able to very quickly understand the effect that you're doing by uploading the dictionaries and adding new entities. So this is an example of from the text, the test text here in content, that Barclays was identified. And that the machine understands that it's a cash card account offered by Barclays, and it's a type current account, right? The custom classification models, it's very similar. Again, just that kind of, it's about kind of really kind of simplifying things, make it just push button simple to create a new classification. It shouldn't be difficult. And again, if you already have kind of a model that you've been using, if it's an Excel format, you can upload that and get to work very quickly. MeaningCloud takes a unique approach to enable a hybrid approach. So in terms of kind of classification, so not just relying on whether it can be training based or rule based, because we've kind of recognized that there is no kind of magic bullet, there's no silver bullet, there's no one cure to solve it all. It's really about what is appropriate for specific content. Will be better suited to use a rule-based approach. Others will be a training-based approach. And it could be that actually you need to combine the both to really get the results you want. We want kind of create a very simple interface to enable that. Training, some of you are familiar with this, but just to kind of go through it, is this idea of kind of it's a machine learning approach to basically just teach the machine what the text looks like for the specific categories that you've defined, right? It's really kind of demonstrate, here's a good example for this category, what the content you kind of expect, right? And for all the kind of categories, you kind of give it the training text so it starts to understand. And what it's going to do is when you start, running it against kind of fresh content, it's going to look for text that's it's similar to the training text, and it's a way of kind of identifying very quickly. Start to identify new content for your categories, right? Rules-based approach takes a bit more kind of human intervention, but it's very useful, and I'll very quickly kind of show you the different advantages and disadvantages for the other approaches. But it's very context sensitive. It's always kind of important. to really understand that, and you'll be able to identify. But from our perspective as MeaningCloud, it's about enabling you very easily and very quickly to switch between the various approaches. On a rules-driven approach, it's about the terms that are going to be found in the text that you're analyzing, right? So positive and negative terms are very strong identifiers. So a positive term is something that must be, if it's going to fit in this category, it must occur, right? And on the other side, you have a negative term, which is if this term exists in the text, it's definitely not part of this particular category that you're defining the rules for. A more softly gentle approach is relevant and irrelevant terms. Just because this term exists or doesn't exist doesn't mean whether it can be inclusion or exclusion, but it's kind of the weight of numbers, right? As these things kind of occur, there's kind of a scoring going on that identifies that, well, you know, a lot of these relative terms exist, not many irrelevant terms, so it's most likely fitting in this category, right? So this is something a human would do to kind of, it's, you know, it really is kind of a test and see approach, really kind of identify, look at the text. And because, you know, the way people talk about particular, you know, categories that you're interested in will probably evolve over time. So this is usually there's some management involved. Which is where we get into the kind of advantages and disadvantages, right? It's really about, you know, from our perspective, is creating simple interfaces to enable and empower users to use the right tool for the right job, right? So we don't want to be boxing you into a particular technology. Certain places, the statistical approach, the kind of training approach that we showed is very good. In particular, when there's a lot of text, training text to analyze, you get very good results for that. The problem is it's a black box. So you see a particular mistake that's occurring, that's quite annoying. It's very hard to kind of hone in on that and address that specific mistake. And this is where kind of the hybrid is and enable that rules to also approach to be used. Rules-based, as I said, it's very good when you're expecting certain terms and you have a very kind of limited domain in which you can really know ahead of time how people are going to be talking and enable them to beforehand know that, you know, this particular category, this content is going to go into this category because this term was said and stuff like that. It's very easy to address kind of false positives because of the kind of exclusion rules, etc. But the problem with that, because you're so working in the details and you're at the word level, scalability is an issue, right? So there might be that you utilize a statistical approach to kind of hone in, and then the kind of fine tuning is done on the rules level, right? But it's enabling that, and we've kind of recognized that, and we want to enable this approach rather than kind of dictate how to solve your specific problems. And here's just an example of the categorization interface for people. You see they've defined a number of relevant and irrelevant terms. Once again, if you already have a kind of model for classification, it's quite easy to upload. And this is really powerful, especially in terms of kind of uploading training text, the various rules that you might have already defined for the various categories. And it's a great way to kind of, again, bootstrap the engine to really start to customize and address the specific things that you're interested in from the text that you're looking at, right? Rather than relying just on the out-of-the-box performance. And so this is, again, the kind of example of the show that once you've done this, you can start to understand how the classification was determined given this text that's coming through. You see here, I'm able to understand why this particular bit of content was categorized as being from phone, because the customer had mentioned putting the phone down. And one of the kind of very interesting high-level applications of this is sentiment analysis. Sentiment analysis is, you know, people are broadly interested in sentiment analysis. They've seen the value of it, and it's a way of kind of identifying what your customers are saying about you in potentially real time. And without the kind of having been able to customize the dictionaries and the classifications, you would be able to see that a term was mentioned, so Barclays, and then start to be able to understand the aspect-based sentiment for that specific entity. So you're getting a very fine-grained understanding of sentiment, because it could be that there's positive things in this huge chunk of text, but with a specific entity that's particularly mentioned, i.e. the polarity with Barclays. And so you can see that it was negative with a relatively strong score. It's still in beta testing, but we very soon will be able to enable custom sentiment dictionaries as well. So if you're interested in this, please get in contact with us. We're quite happy to let you get involved with the private beta. But if you already have custom sentiment dictionaries, we're quite happy to kind of load those automatically. But they kind of clean and simple interfaces that you saw for dictionaries and categorizations are coming very, very soon, but not quite yet. And the important thing is just because context is absolutely so vital in terms of kind of aspect sentiment analysis. So the use of the word cheap in one domain, such as luxury goods, is not so good versus groceries, and even the same term, right? So the example here, that given the context, the word close can have very different polarity. So when a stock market closes, that's usually just means end of business for the day, and it's a neutral polarity. When a company closes a deal or a contract, say that gets tweeted by the company, that's an important bit of information that you might want to be able to extract, because there's a very positive connotation to this idea that a company is just closed a big deal. Vice versa, if a company closes, that could mean out of business, and that has a very negative term. So the ability to create that custom sentiment dictionary, we appreciate, is very important, and we should have that functionality coming very soon. So just a few conclusions to talk about kind of the improvement of accuracy. I gave some examples of just kind of some graphic tools. It's about really kind of creating, simplifying that process, and empowering a user to be able to do that themselves rather than relying on expensive, software or professional services. Really kind of, whether it's a developer or a data analyst, it's about creating simple, clean tools. The power of kind of customization, because again, you're dealing with particular customers who are talking about your products in a certain way, and you know that best, right? And so to be able to kind of enable you to improve upon the kind of relatively strong out-of-the-box performance is fantastic, right? And also, to kind of already kind of that out-of-the-box is quite strong and enable very broad coverage already, but let the users refine that, and to be able to address your specific customer's needs, your business case, and really kind of enable the text analytic engine to really understand the world that you're trying that you're concerned with. And how MeaningCloud does this is through kind of high quality semantic analysis. Like I said, the engine itself is a result of years of research and development. Enable high level APIs, such as the ability to kind of do you'd be able to utilize the corporate reputation APIs, integrate that into your products, and be able to provide that to your customers. Customize that for the specific domains that you're interested. And we're constantly, utilizing a kind of semantic web approach to kind of constantly improve the performance, right? So there's under the hood, there's always kind of out-of-the-box improvement happening. It's about simplicity, enable, not only kind of developers but also non-technical developers, non-technical users, to be able to kind of to use this technology and be able to kind of very quickly, very easily start to do some very powerful text analytics, right? And that's whether that's through kind of utilizing kind of Excel spreadsheets, RESTful APIs, or plugins for whatever kind of development environment that you're used to. Really, it's about kind of plug and play approach, push button simplicity. And we stand by it. So by kind of creating, enabling kind of very a simple interface that is affordable without any risk, let you test it, and we have a very kind of generous, 40,000 requests per month. It takes quite a while before you start to hit that ceiling and really start to identify the value this technology can provide to your organization. And no commitment. There's no vendor lock-in, and even when you do start paying, it starts out very reasonable. We're talking about 120,000 requests is only going to cost you $99 a month. So I hope that's kind of interesting. Again, we'll just say thank you very much. Thank you for listening to me. We can, if you want to kind of raise your hand, if you have any questions, we can hang around. I think we finish in very good time, and we'll turn on the mic. Oh. Hi there. Does anybody have any questions? I feel like I saw a hand. No, that all seems sensible to everyone? Okay. Well, once again, thank you very much for listening in. I hope that was helpful. And feel free to you can contact me directly, but please check out MeaningCloud and Dedalis's website for our other products. And I look forward to hearing from you. I want to thank you very much for attending.